Hello again, watch fans. Welcome back. Today I'd like to talk about two watches that are very similar in some ways and very dissimilar in other ways. What we have here are the Grand Seiko SBGA085 on the left, and on the right is the Seiko SARB033. So let's take a look at these two watches, see how they are more alike or less alike, and why you may want to have either one. As far as specs go, they're very similar. The SARB on the right is a JDM watch, Japanese domestic market, and up until a few years ago was not available in the US. You had to either go to Japan to buy one, or you had to order from a Japanese website. Now they're quite available. You can get them on Amazon. I bought mine from Long Island Watch about a year ago, so they're readily available. The SARB it's an automatic with a date, as you can see. 38 millimeter stainless steel case, 12 millimeter thick, 20 millimeter lug width, and 44.5 millimeters lug to lug. The Grand Seiko is similar. It's an automatic with a date, but it also has a power reserve, as you can see, which shows you the relative percentage of the power left in the watch. It's 39 millimeter instead of 38. It's also 12 millimeter thick, just like the SARB. It's got a 19 millimeter lug width instead of 20, so if you're going to change out the bracelet for a strap, it may be a little bit more difficult to find one. And finally, the lug to lug is 46 millimeters, which is not quite 2 millimeter larger than the SARB. Cases are similar. Both have sapphire crystal. The SARB has an exhibition screw-in case back. The Grand Seiko has a solid case back. The SARB does not have a screw-down crown, whereas the Grand Seiko does. They both have a signed crown. They're both 100-meter water resistant, and they're both executed quite well. You can see that the SARB has Dauphine-style sword hands, kind of similar to the Grand Seiko. Both have baton indices, not numbers, but the indices on the Grand Seiko are extremely highly finished, polished, and I believe hand cut, whereas the SARB isn't quite, still look nice, but isn't quite the same. The SARB also has some little tiny bit of loom on the inside of each of the batons, loom on the hands, which isn't all that effective. So I'm not even sure why they bothered with the loom, but it's there nonetheless. The Grand Seiko has no loom at all. The Grand Seiko is a black matte dial. The SARB is sort of a semi-glossy dial. Both have a date indicator. SARB has a surprisingly quite a nice date window, white numeral on a black background, and of course the Grand Seiko has similar kinds of date window. So let's compare the dials on the two watches. You can see on the SARB on the right, it's a matte black, but it's a little bit glossy compared to the Grand Seiko, which is clearly a matte. It's a real nice matte black. On the SARB, there's applied baton indicators. You can see that they're applied there, and the Seiko marquee at the top is also applied. It's not printed, and the date is very nicely framed with white numbers on a black background. On the Grand Seiko, also an applied logo at the top. Got that matte finish on the dial. And There's that power reserve indicator on the left. I believe, like I said, it's showing a full charge. So those are the two dials, very, very similar. So let's talk about the movement. The SARB has the 6R15, which is an upgraded movement. It's got hacking and hand winding. It's the same movement used in some of the more expensive Presage models. 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it's got a 50-hour power reserve. The Grand Seiko has a 9R65 spring drive movement. Now, it's got a 72-hour power reserve. The accuracy is stated to be 1 second per day, but I've worn the Grand Seiko over the last week, and I'm about 2 seconds for the entire week, plus 2 seconds. So it's really, really quite accurate. I can't put it on the time grapher because it doesn't work the way normal mechanical watches work. The SARB, on the other hand, when I first got it, it was showing, I think, about plus 6 seconds per day fast. That was about a year ago, and I just a week ago also wore it for a week, put it on the time grapher, and it was showing about 9 seconds fast per day. So I need to talk about, just briefly, because there's a lot of information out on the internet, and I'll put links below comparing the two movements. So the SARB has a traditional escape movement where there's when you wind it up, or the rotor from wearing it powers the mainspring. There's a hairspring that keeps the escapement moving back and forth. There's a little lever, you'll see a picture up here on the top, where it just goes back and forth, back and forth. The hairspring keeps its uniform on both directions, and that's what regulates the actual time and the accuracy. In fact, that's where you get the tick-tock sound from. The SARBs are well known for generally being pretty accurate, but it's sort of a hit and miss. I mean, I have two other SARB models. I have the 035, which is the cream-colored dial, and I have the Alpinist, the SARB017, a green dial. The cream-colored dial, I just measured it 2 weeks ago, and that was getting about plus 3 seconds a day. So these can be really, really accurate right out of the box, or they can be maybe not quite as accurate, and I understand that they can be regulated. As far as the Grand Seiko goes, again with the spring drive movement, I think that's probably one of the most sophisticated movements on the market today. Granted, there are small small companies with really highly technical watchmakers that make all kinds of tourbillons and multiple complications and things like that. But as far as a production movement, I think the spring drive is probably the most sophisticated one currently available. And basically what the spring drive is, again, you have the when you wind it up, or when it's powered by the rotor, it is a mechanical watch. I mean, you are giving it power by winding up the mainspring. But instead of having a hairspring and an escapement that's controlling or regulating the timing of the mechanism, it's providing power to a continuously running, I guess it's a wheel. It's called a glide wheel, and they have something called the tri-synchro regulator, which basically is a feedback loop. So this This glide wheel is continuously running in the same direction, unlike a regular mechanical watch, which is back and forth, back and forth. So it's running in the continuous, in the same direction, continuously, and the feedback that comes from the power powers these little minute electromagnets, which apply a braking force, and the braking force is what regulates the time. And because it's a feedback system, it's really able to make itself more accurate because it's constantly monitoring its speed. And there is a quartz crystal, a very, very highly accurate, top-of-the-line quartz crystal that actually Seiko grows themselves. They grow their own crystals, their own quartz crystals, and then they take the best of the best, and that's what they put in Grand Seiko watches. So really, it's the quartz crystal that's providing the accurate regulation for the braking. So it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid of quartz for the braking and mechanical as a typical mechanical watch, where it gets its power from the mainspring. And if we look at the bracelet, we can see that the SARB has a nicely polished bracelet. And there's the H-link. It's got a solid clasp here. It's not stamped. Nicely signed Seiko on the bottom. Some people don't like the SARB bracelet. Personally, I have no problem with it. I know it's not the best possible bracelet, but it's fine. It does the job, and really, it's the watch that you're most interested in, as opposed to the bracelet, I think. Although the bracelet is part of the total package. The Grand Seiko bracelet is really, really nice. It is highly polished, very well finished. Again, has a machined clasp. Got the Grand Seiko logo on the bottom. Double button deployant. But it is really, really nice. Very comfortable on the wrist. Extremely well executed. So let me talk about my likes and dislikes. On the SARB, it really is extremely high value for the money. It's typically sells for anywhere between $300 and $400. I did a quick search just the other day, and I think they were coming in about $370, $380, something like that. It's hard to beat this quality watch at that price. It's also very easy to change out straps. A lot of people like to put them on NATOs. They put them on leather. A lot of different kinds of possibilities for the SARB. It can look both sort of dress and casual. I mean, it depends how you dress it up and what the strap looks like. In fact, on the bracelet, it's sort of, I guess, dressy. But you put it on a nice alligator, crocodile, similar species, not the same. It can also look very nice. Or you can put it on a casual leather strap, and it'd be sort of a dress down kind of watch. Also, the 100 meter water resist. It's okay for doing the dishes and getting caught in the rain. Maybe taking it in the shower. I mean, that's 300 feet, so that's nothing to worry about, but obviously you can't go diving with it, and there's no screw-down crown. It's very similar in design to the Grand Seiko, and it's a clean, conservative, and understated look, which I personally like that aesthetic. Not everybody does, but I do. So I think it's a very, very attractive watch at a very good price. The Grand Seiko, I really like the accuracy out of the box. It's incredible. It's very hard, very difficult for a truly mechanical watch, an all-mechanical watch, to meet this level of accuracy. And that second hand. So, I didn't mention this before, but if you look at just watch that second hand glide. See how smooth that is? That's because it's not going tick-tock, tick-tock. It's that continuously running glide wheel that's being regulated by the braking force of electromagnet. So that's really, really nice to look at, and just another high-quality aspect of the Grand Seiko. It's not too flashy. I think it may be a little bit more dressy than the SARB, mainly because the bracelet is so much nicer, and it's got that extra function of the reserve, power reserve, and I like the fact that it doesn't draw attention to itself. You really have to know what a Grand Seiko is to appreciate it, other than saying, oh gee, that's just a Seiko, and not even am I paying attention to it. So I like its understated aspect of the Grand Seiko. So what don't I like about these watches? Well, as I mentioned, the SARB, the lume, is almost non-existent. It's not a diver after all. It's really more of a sports watch, so I guess that can be excused, but maybe it would have been a cleaner look, better aesthetic if the lume wasn't even there. The accuracy, as I mentioned on the SARB, is kind of hit or miss from what I've read. I have 3 SARB models. I have the cream colored, this 035, and I have the green dial, the Alpinist 017. The 035 is running about plus 2 seconds a day with no regulation. Currently, the SARB033 that you see is running about plus 9 seconds per day. When I first bought it a year ago, it was running about 6 seconds plus. I've also heard that the SARBs, that you need to wear them and you need to keep them fully wound to get the best accuracy. There's also a question of heft. Some people think that the SARB is kind of heavy. It's not all that heavy, I don't think, and you get used to it on the wrist, so that's not a big deal. As far as the Grand Seiko dislikes, well, it is more expensive. It's about a $3,000 watch compared to a $300, $300 or $400 watch. It is going to be more expensive to maintain and own over the long term. Any service that's required on the Grand Seiko spring drive needs to be sent back to Japan, so it's going to be expensive, and you're going to have to, I guess, wait a while to get that serviced. Interestingly, if you buy a Grand Seiko spring drive from a Seiko boutique, you get the first service free. So that helps a little bit in terms of cost of ownership. And I guess personally, I would rather have the Grand Seiko slightly smaller, more like 37 to 38, but that's a minor thing, and it's really neither here nor there. So, as you probably know, Grand Seikos cost anywhere from several thousand up to $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So it is Seiko's high-end watch line. Not the very, very high-end. Those are the Credors, but still comparable to many of the well-known luxury Swiss brands. So I like to call this particular model, the SBGA 085, the entry-level Grand Seiko, because it was a little bit less than $3,000. You can get some discounts from some authorized dealers on Grand Seikos. And there are also even less expensive Grand Seikos if you go the quartz route. And quartz watches, the quartz Grand Seiko watches, are really amazing pieces in their own right. They have thermo-compensated quartz movements, high accuracy quartz, and they are accurate supposedly to 15 seconds per year. Just amazing. Seiko does everything totally in-house. They even grow their own crystals. And for Grand Seiko, they take the best crystals and take the best of the best crystals, and those are the ones that are used both for Grand Seiko quartz watches and also the quartz portion of the spring drive movement. So what's the value? Well, if you look at, let's say, a $3,000 Grand Seiko compared to a $300 or so SARB, you may wonder why, is it really worth 10 times the price? And I'm not sure that's true. I own both of these watches. I made the decision. I wanted to have a spring drive. I think it's a fantastic technological tour de force. Some people, and I would tend to agree with this, that the SARB, even though it sells in the mid to high $300 range, is probably comparable to watches that are closer to $1,000, maybe $800 to $1,000, than it is to watches that sell for $350. So if you then compare, let's say, the SARB at roughly a $1,000 level compared to this Grand Seiko at approximately a $3,000 level, then you're saying, well, it's like more like 3 or 4 times the price. And there, I think it is. I think it is worth it because of the spring drive. You get the extra complication of the power reserve. You get the better finishing, screw down crown. It's just a beautiful watch. So if you look at it that way, I think it is worth it. But that's only you can make that decision. I can't. So there you have it. The Grand Seiko SBGA 085 and the SARB 033. I do think that the SARB can be thought of as the baby Grand. That's the question, and I think that's the answer. Very, very close. Obviously, the fit and finish is better on the Grand Seiko, but that's the bottom line. Thanks for watching. See you next time.